Greetings, Guardians. This is Olympus Alliance. And today we are talking about one of the strangest, most unique and honestly one of the most best tanks in Hero Wars, Alliance. Electra. And Guardians. This hero is completely different from almost every other tank in the game. Because Electra is not built around normal defensive mechanics. She is built around pain. Yes. Pain. And the more damage she absorbs, the more value she creates for the team around her. Now at first glance, many players look at Electra immediately become confused because one detail inside her kit looks absolutely insane. Her armor. 0. Magic defense. 0. Dodge. Also 0. And not only 0. These values can never be changed. No armor scaling. No magic defense scaling. No dodge scaling. Nothing. And normally Guardians, hearing that about a tank sounds catastrophic. Because tanks are supposed to survive through defensive stats. But Electra completely breaks that logic. Because instead of using those defensive values normally, Electra converts them directly into health. And that is where everything changes. Because suddenly we are no longer talking about a traditional defensive tank trying to reduce incoming damage little by little. We are talking about a giant wall of health. An undead electric monster designed to absorb absurd amounts of punishment while protecting the entire team behind her. And honestly, Guardians, once you understand this mechanic correctly, you begin realizing why Electra feels so annoying to fight against. Because many dangerous enemy heroes become forced to attack her. And with her gigantic health pool, bringing her down becomes an absolute nightmare. Especially if she has proper support beside her. This is what makes Electra so unique. She does not survive because enemies deal low damage to her. She survives because she absorbs everything. She takes the pressure. She takes the punishment. She takes the frontline aggression directly into herself. Like a concrete wall standing in front of the team. And the beautiful part is that Electra is not simply standing there passively tanking. No. She is constantly creating value while suffering. Which honestly fits her design perfectly. Because while Electra absorbs damage, she blinds nearby enemies. She amplifies allied magic attack. And she reduces enemy magic defense depending on how much health she has already lost. And Guardians. That last mechanic is absolutely massive. Because suddenly Electra stops being just a tank. She becomes offensive support too. And magic-based allies love this. Especially heroes struggling with limited support options. Because Electra creates something many magic compositions desperately need. Protection. And offensive amplification simultaneously. Fragile backline heroes suddenly gain much more freedom to operate because Electra absorbs frontal pressure while weakening enemy defenses at the same time. And honestly, that combination is extremely powerful. Because many tanks protect allies. But very few tanks simultaneously increase magical pressure this aggressively. And then there is another extremely important detail. Electra cannot be displaced while ulting. And Guardians. This matters much more than many players realize. Because displacement mechanics are everywhere now. Pushes, pulls, grouping, battlefield manipulation. Many compositions rely heavily on controlling enemy positioning to create burst opportunities. But Electra resists that. She stays stable. She maintains formation. She prevents dangerous grouping situations from happening around her team. And that stability becomes incredibly valuable in difficult fights. Now when we start talking about synergy, this is where Electra becomes really interesting. Because the Eternity faction absolutely loves her. Especially Iris. And honestly, Guardians. Electra and Iris together are terrifying. Why? Because Electra constantly reduces enemy magic defense while absorbing pressure at the front line. And Iris absolutely destroys weakened enemies once defensive layers start collapsing. So the longer Electra survives, the more dangerous Iris becomes. Enemies begin losing defensive stability. Soul charges start exploding faster. And suddenly the battlefield completely collapses. This is one of the reasons why Electra feels so powerful inside Eternity compositions. She buys time. She weakens enemies. She stabilizes the battlefield. And then Iris executes everyone. But the synergy does not stop there. Tempus also works beautifully beside Electra. And honestly, this pairing feels incredibly natural. Because Tempus amplifies survivability further, increases allied speed, and most importantly, helps reduce physical threats. And physical aggression is exactly what Electra constantly faces on the front line. So when Tempus slows enemy momentum while Electra absorbs punishment, the battlefield starts becoming heavily controlled. The enemy loses rhythm. The enemy loses speed. The enemy loses pressure. Meanwhile Electra keeps standing there like an electric fortress. And honestly, Guardians, this strategy becomes incredibly frustrating to fight against because it creates a slow, suffocating battlefield where your attacks feel weaker and weaker over time. But now let's move outside the Eternity faction for a moment, because Electra also has some fantastic support options elsewhere. And one of the best examples is Byrna. Now this combination is brutal. Because Byrna gives Electra exactly what she wants most. Healing. Energy support. Sustain. And suddenly Electra starts feeling almost indestructible. Especially against direct frontal damage compositions. Because while Electra absorbs punishment, Byrna continuously stabilizes her and keeps her active longer and longer. And Guardians, when Electra survives longer, everything inside her kit scales harder. More magic defense reduction. More pressure absorption. More time for allies to work safely. More disruption. So healing support around Electra becomes incredibly valuable, and honestly, some physical attack teams simply cannot break through this combination consistently because Electra absorbs too much pressure while Byrna constantly repairs the damage. Now there are even more heroes capable of making Electra feel disgusting to fight against. Soleil, for example. Alvanor too. Both massively increase her durability through damage reduction mechanics and defensive support. And Guardians. This is where Electra becomes truly oppressive. Because once you combine huge health pool, damage mitigation, healing, battlefield stability, and magical amplification, bringing her down becomes unbelievably difficult. And that creates exactly what magic teams love most. Time. Because magic compositions often scale harder the longer battles continue. And Electra is exceptional at creating those longer stable battle environments. She splits incoming pressure. She slows enemy momentum. She absorbs punishment. She stabilizes positioning. And she gives fragile allies room to breathe safely behind her. And honestly, that is what makes Electra such a fascinating tank. She completely breaks traditional expectations. Most players look at tanks and think armor, defense, damage reduction. Electra says no. She turns suffering itself into power. And that design is honestly incredible. Because the more pain she takes, the more valuable she becomes. And Guardians, one thing I really want players to understand is this. Electra is not a tank built for every composition. She shines specifically in teams capable of taking advantage of longer fights, magical pressure, battlefield control, and survivability scaling. If you throw her randomly into aggressive burst compositions without synergy, she may feel strange. But once you build around her correctly, she becomes a nightmare. Especially for players relying heavily on direct frontal aggression. Because Electra wants enemies attacking her. That is literally where her strength begins. And honestly, Guardians, the current state of the game makes her incredibly valuable because many meta teams still depend heavily on explosive frontline pressure. Electra absorbs that pressure, then transforms it into value for the entire team around her. And that is why she feels so special. So Guardians, if you have not tested Electra properly yet, you should. Because this hero is far more than simply another tank. She is a pressure absorber, a magical amplifier, a battlefield stabilizer, and honestly, one of the most unique defensive designs in Hero Wars Alliance. And once you truly understand how to support her correctly, you begin understanding why so many strong players are starting to respect her more and more. Stay tuned, stay sharp. And as always, salute and friendship.